Good day, traveller, and welcome back to Cryptid Central. In today's video, we're going to be travelling to the land down under to take a look at 10 Australian cryptids. First on the list at number 10 is the Thylacine, or better known as the Tasmanian Tiger. A living fossil that mainstream scientists insist has been extinct since the 1930s, but sightings continue to be reported as recently as 2021. It is a dog-like marsupial with a wide opening mouth and are instantly recognisable by their signature tiger stripes, and are also famous for being the largest carnivorous marsupial in modern times. Sadly, their numbers were decimated after having to compete with dingoes for food, which were introduced to the area by humans 10,000 years ago, and they were also hunted both as a food source and because they were blamed for killing livestock. By the early 20th century, thylacines became extremely hard to find. In 1930, Wilf Batty shot and killed one. This specimen would be considered the last known wild thylacine. In 1933, a thylacine by the name of Benjamin was captured and sold to the Hobart Zoo. In September of 1936, Benjamin would die due to the negligence of volunteer zookeepers. However, since being officially declared extinct, there have been a recorded 3,800 sightings on file from mainland Australia alone since the 1936 extinction date. Number 9. The Gunai. The Gunai is said to be found near Marysville, Victoria. The animal features deer-like antlers atop a wombat-like body, albeit one with striped markings on its back, hindquarters and tail. They were first sighted by gold miners in the 1860s in the Central Highlands, but the initial witness testimonies were put down to fertile imagination or rough liquor. Marysville electrician Frank Murphy claims to have seen a Gunai in 1999 from about 200 metres away on a property adjacent to thick bush, thinking at first it was a wombat before he saw the tail. "I got the fright of my life," he said. "I thought it might have been somebody's lost dog, and then it turned around and had antlers on top of its head. It stayed still for 30 to 40 seconds and then it went into the bush." Mr. Murphy said he thought the sightings of the Gunai might turn into a legend, much like the Loch Ness Monster. Although he hadn't been drinking before he saw the Gunai, he said, "After I saw it, I went home and had quite a few." Number 8. The Drop Bear. Drop bears are vicious marsupials that live in the treetops that will drop down onto humans and attack them. The Australian Museum describes the drop bear as having coarse orange fur with some darker mottled patterning. They are around the size of a leopard or a large dog and are heavily built with powerful forearms for climbing and holding onto prey. They are thought to live in the Great Dividing Range in southeastern Australia. Number 7. The Gippsland Phantom Cat. The Gippsland Phantom Cat is a feline cryptid in the Gippsland region of southeastern Victoria in Australia. They look to be a type of panther, and reports in the region date back to the 1970s. Dr. John Henry, a researcher from Deakin University, studied the reported sightings from the 1970s and concluded that it was beyond reasonable doubt that large cats were roaming the Grampians region of Victoria. In June 2005, Kurt Engel, a deer hunter from Noble Park, shot what he claimed was a large cat in rugged terrain near the town of Sale. Engel photographed the dead cat before cutting off its 26-inch long tail and dumping the body in a river. In 2012, the state government purported that the existence of big cats in Victoria was highly unlikely. The excuse given by former Victorian Agriculture and Food Security Minister Peter Walsh was that big cats sighted over the years were merely large feral cats. The tale of the Gippsland big cat is closely related to similar tales of exotic felines that have been reported for many decades in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney, commonly known as the Blue Mountains cat. Number 6. The Yarama Yahoo. A blood-sucking creature that preys on people by sucking almost all of their blood before swallowing them whole. It would then take a drink of water and take a nap, then wake up and regurgitate the person, turning them into a Yarama Yahoo themselves. It resembles a blend of a human and a frog-like amphibian, standing 4 feet tall with hair and red skin. It has an enlarged mouth with no teeth, and suckers on the tips of its fingers that it uses to suck the blood from its victims. Number 5. The Yowie. Considered to be the Australian Bigfoot, the Yowie is described to stand between 5 and 9 feet tall, with a large red mouth, talon-like claws, and 2 large canines which distinguish it from other Bigfoot species. It usually has either brown or red fur. Like most Bigfoot species, it is theorized that the Yowie descends from an ancient ape called the Gigantopithecus blackeye. The most recent sightings were reported in early 2021. 3 sightings were reported in 2021, and at least 6 sightings in 2020. All of the sightings were reported in the state of Queensland. Number 4. The Euroa Beast. The Euroa Beast is a 30-foot-long amphibious beast sighted in 1890. The first accounts of this bizarre event were published in the Brisbane Courier, and then in the Melbourne Argus on the 28th of February, and again on the 1st of March, 1890, where witnesses testified that a nearby swamp had been infested by an unidentifiable 30-foot-long monstrosity since 1884. Some investigators have speculated that this pug-faced beast may actually be an ancestral amphibian known as Pederpes finneyae. These short, squat, presumed extinct crocodile-like tetrapods hailed from the early Carboniferous and represent what many scientists believe to be the missing link between fish and land animals. Number 3 on our list is another living fossil, the Megalania. The Megalania is a thought-to-be extinct giant relative of the monitor lizard, which measured 35 feet in length and weighed over 1,000 kilograms. Like their modern cousins, they were thought to possess toxin-secreting oral glands, and fossil remains are said to be from as recent as 23,000 years ago. This would have brought the early Aboriginal settlers of Australia into contact with this huge carnivore. These early encounters between humans and Megalania prisca would have been terrifying. Aboriginal cave paintings depict a reptilian creature that is much larger than a human. Some depict stories of reptiles that brought fire and destruction with them. Many of these cave paintings are thought to be less than 10,000 years old. Author and cryptozoologist Rex Gilroy believes that the stories are fresh with the Aborigines because Megalania prisca has not gone extinct. He relates the story of how the Australian town of Euroa was terrorised by a giant lizard in 1890. The story tells of a 30-foot reptile raiding farms and killing livestock. Many eyewitnesses reportedly saw the creature before it retreated back into the bush. Gilroy has chronicled some more modern Megalania prisca sightings. In Alice Springs, a group of Aborigines reported seeing a giant reptile come through their camp. Another sighting by Scoutmaster and Boy Scouts reports a 22-foot-long lizard. One Megalania sighting did yield some proof. In the winter of 1979, Gilroy received a call from a farmer in Moruya. This farmer reported seeing a 20-foot-long lizard that left tracks. Gilroy was able to make a plaster cast of one of the tracks. In January of 2008, Gilroy found additional tracks on a forest trail about 185 miles of Moruya. He made a cast of these lizard-like tracks and found them to be very similar to the tracks from 1979. Number 2. The Hook Island Sea Monster. Also known as the tadpole creature, the Hook Island sea monster is a 90-foot sea monster sighted off the coast of Hook Island. It is black in colour, with a gaping mouth and eyes placed on top of its head. The monster was sighted by Robert Leseric and his family in 1964 when it moved towards his ship with its mouth open as if to attack. The witness said, "It was only when we got to within 20 feet of the serpent that we could see its head clearly. The head was large, about 4 feet from top to bottom, with jaws about 4 feet wide. The lower jaw was flat, like that of a sandfish. The skin was smooth but rather dull, brownish-black in colour. The eyes seemed pale green, almost white. The skin looked more like that of a shark than an eel. There were no apparent scales, nor did we see any parasites around. We supposed the flexible tail would have shaken any off. There were no fins or spines, nor were there any apparent breathing openings, although there must have been some. Perhaps we didn't see them because our attention was focused mainly on the creature's menacing mouth, the inside of which was whitish. The teeth appeared to be small. A fragment of some dark substance hung from the upper row of teeth, possibly a fish. As the monster was lying on the sandy bottom, we could not see the colour of its belly. The creature was about 90 feet long. Behind the head, the body was about 2 feet 4 inches thick and remained that way for about 25 feet, then it gradually tapered into a whip-like tail. The general colour of the body was black, with 1 foot wide brownish rings every 5 feet, the first starting just behind the head. The skin was smooth but dull. Just as it seemed it would swallow the ship, it swam away. Leseric managed to take a few shots before it swam away, never to be seen again. And coming in at number 1 is the Burrunjor. A dinosaur cryptid that resembles a Tyrannosaurus, the Burrunjor is described as being a giant lizard according to Aboriginal mythology. Based on sightings, it is 20 to 25 feet long, has small clawed hands, and is bipedal in nature. Throughout the 1950s, Australian cattle ranchers reported a large creature that was eating their livestock. Also, earlier accounts suggest that it is a reptilian animal whose diet consisted of kangaroos and other large animals. If it was not for the bipedal footprint findings, the Burrunjor could have been mistaken for a Megalania. A report tells of a man named Brian Clark who went into the woods and got lost in 1978. After the alarm was raised, he was tracked by policemen and 2 Aboriginal bushmen. The trackers woke up one night to a loud thunderous sound and the ground shaking. After finding the wayward traveller, policemen later told the man that if he ever went back into the woods and got lost, that they would not come looking for him. The last reported sighting happened in 1985 when a family was travelling to Roper River and they reported seeing a 20-foot-long monster covered in feathers. Congratulations, traveller, you've made it to the end of the list. What did you think of these 10 Australian cryptids? Let me know in the comments and remember to like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.